What is my favorite? I'm such a miss bag. I'm not a one trucker. Well, the one that come to mind is Amazing Grace. Oh, sweet that song to save a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I've found. I was blind, and now I see. When I came here first, my first job was working in a carburet factory that make carburet for cars, carburetor for cars. I used to test the pistons what go into the carburetor. And after that, I moved to a dart factory. I was polishing dart. Yeah. Then when I got my first kid, and well, not my first, my second, because I have two kids that born in Jamaica. But I've Yvonne. I thought you know Yvonne, aren't you? Yes, yes. When I had Yvonne, I went on maternity to leave, and that's when I changed from the corporate factory. When I went back to work, I went to the dart factory. Then Paul picked up. Yeah, Paul picked up a sent for my eldest daughter, Pam. Yeah, so that by that then I have three kids and oh nanny to pay childminder. It was quite something. So I had to stop. Yeah, I have to stop work for a while to look after them. And when they went back to work, I went and I trained as a chef. Yeah, I went to a government course and I trained as a chef. Yes, and then I used to work in the schools to to accommodate the children.
Well, my dad first came here and then he sent for my mom and they used to tell me that the country was cold, you know, and the country, they had to work hard, and like the country, there wasn't much money in those days in the 50s and 60s. You work for a little and nothing like 4 shilling, 5 shilling. And everybody had to live in one room, and cook in one kitchen, so it was different from now. It was a better time, I think. The time the people wasn't so violent those time. Because when I came here, my mom used to leave her front door open, and people wouldn't come in and take anything. And I used to work for 4 shillings. I used to work at the Mecca, a place named Mecca in Battersea, doing fixing the radio and doing capacitor, wrapping the telephone wires and things like that. Then I moved on to Chapman in Villa Factory. Then my first job was in um, Westminster, Ministry of Defense, really. I've got that in my passport. Yeah, I used to work with the brake soldiers doing filing. So I've got a lot of experience about working in this country. I used to do all the typing, and also, as you know, I was a mugger. I was a mugger. But from I was 17, I trained to do mugging at the Academy of Mugger in West End, Band Street. Old Band Street, nice new Band Street. So I can write 15 minutes commercial, 10 minutes commercial. That's the only commercial time you have to say a commercial, 15 minutes and 10 minutes and 5 minutes. So I've got a lot of experience working on the TV and things like that. You didn't remember a show named Ebony? In the 70s, there was a show out named Ebony. I was the one in Ebony. And you remember Black Beauty book? Probably you don't remember these things. I was on the cover of it. At the time, I was in the Gleaner, when the Gleaner was out with the Prime Minister of this country.
I I came to England in 1959, late 59. The Windrush wasn't the only boat that was operating. There were quite a few boats. The Surrender, you can still catch up with the Surrender on it's still recorded on the internet. So the Surrender, well, they did come to Barbados in the 50s, and we started recruiting. Well, the Americans recruited first, but the Americans were short-term immigration. For England, you never had to sign that sort of contract. And the Americans were very selective who they wanted. You had to go through a medical and all that before they accept you. I got turned on as a conductor, London buses. I failed the test, but then I went on to, I went straight into the army then. And it's the best thing I've done, really. I really enjoyed that. And from Aldershot, I was lucky that my first posting from Aldershot was in London. People went all over the country or different countries, but I was lucky enough to get a London posting, Mill Hill Barracks. It was on the end of the Northern Line. If you went on the Northern Line, it was Mill Hill East. Mill Hill East, get off at Mill Hill East, and there's a barracks outside the station. And after that, I've been to Cyprus as a peacekeeper between the Turks and the Greeks, because there's quite a few West Indians, from Jamaicans, Trinidadian, Guyanese. Well, it used to be British Guyana then, didn't it? And we all served, in Cyprus and then later in Germany. Because once peace was established in Cyprus, they didn't really need a large contingency. So we all came back from Cyprus to Germany. My last posting was in Chatham, in Kitchener Barracks. Chatham. And that's where I met my wife. She worked at Wimpy. We used to go down to the Wimpy for a Wimpy meal if the food in the army wasn't up to scratch. We used to go down and buy a Wimpy meal. That's where I met my wife.
Cool. My mother met me at the airport, me and my grandma, we came on BOAC, posh, fly. And that's because we kind of came in a hurry, really, because what happened was my grandma was very sick and was in hospital prior to our coming. And so when she got, and we didn't know she was going to survive. So when she got better and she was able to travel, my mom and my granddad, who was here, decided that it's best we come, cool. Me have on Jamaican shoes in a February winter, and me have on one lacy frock that my mother did send me, right? And what do you say? Things that me dress like full foot, and I mean shoes and socks, and my mom, luckily, met me and my grandma with coats at the airport, and as soon as we came out, she shaking, I got my coat. I had this coat with it was like a brownie, it was brown, but it was like clay colored coat, long coat with a furry collar, and I was so grateful for it. And then my grandma had a stripy coat, I think, with a fur collar. Yeah. I came to live in Kent because I was married to a soldier. We had traveled, we lived in Germany for when the kids were small for about 5.5 years. He got a posting here, back to England, to Ireland. So we moved to Ireland, Northern Ireland. it was dreadful. It was so stressful, the most stressful we've been. They had to move us twice because, you know, the British were there and we'd had our windows thrown bricks through and all of that, you know, so we had to move there. And then I got so stressed that he was over here on a course at Brompton Barracks, and we had friends that lived in Gillingham, and so I came over with him to stay.
Well, I came over when I was 8.5, and we went to primary school. And of course, back in the day, this is the 60s, 66, back in the days, they thought that we weren't educated at all. And they immediately put us down one class. And it's like in the class, I was thinking, my gosh, when we were 8 and before 8, we knew up to our 12 times tables. How comes these children don't know that? But because that's not the way the class was, you kind of like dumbed down as well. So whatever they were learning, you learned, although you'd already learned it before. So that's how primary school was. And going on to, I went to another primary school, which is in Stockwell, because we moved to Stockwell. And that was fine, no problem. My handwriting is all Jamaicans. As a Jamaican, I'm saying, we were taught properly how to do proper script writing back home. So when I came over here, my handwriting was perfect. And I used to get lots of awards for that. And I loved it. That made me feel special and stand out and, you know, put me above the shoulders of the others kind of thing. And then secondary school was fine, you know. Racism was fine. Secondary school was fine. I lived in Streatham at the time, and where we lived in Streatham in the 60s, there weren't many Black people. So all my friends in Streatham were white. But it's only when I went to school I had Black friends. And of course, I had Black friends from the church, but you didn't read, apart from seeing them at Bible studies or prayer meeting or something like that, you didn't really go around to their house to play with them. You didn't do that. It was strictly like church-related things. So all my friends in Streatham were white, and there was hardly any Black children in our school in Streatham. Went down to Stockwell. All my friends were white. Went on to secondary school. I had a group of white friends because I have white friends. I have a group of Black friends. So I was like, you know, intermingling between both of them. Yes. I love my school days. I think the worst thing about school was when you actually finished school and you went to see the career teacher.
Yes.
Okay. And the career teacher had low expectation of you. And I wanted to be a nurse. I always wanted to be a nurse from the age of 8 and right up until the age of 16. And I went to the career teacher and she said to me, she looked at me up and down and she said, "Are you sure you want to be a nurse? You've got to follow instructions. You can't wear makeup. You can't wear jewelry. Your skirt, you can't wear a mini skirt." And that kind of like influenced me. I'm ashamed to say that because I think I would have been a wonderful nurse. And then I decided, you know what, I don't want to be a nurse now because of all those restrictive negatives that she put in my mind. However, I went and actually worked at the bank, which I think a lot of people will be very pleased to actually get into the bank at age 17 and a half.
Yeah, this one from 1964. The first place I live is Grove Road. When my mate come and meet me off the train. You ever come on the ship? And the ship that for Liverpool, something like that?
Mm-hmm.
I come off there, and there was my mate and my sister, lovely girl, she was the area, come and meet me, and we talk, so we did a few, and I said, "Okay, babe, we see each other, give me the address and everything, we're not going." And I come right to Kent because the guy was in Kent, working in Kent, at a factory. Right? So you come and meet me. At the same time, he line up a ditch for me. Because the same ditch, you mean, you get me a room.
Okay.
Cheap. She goes there cheap. All me get at dinner. Well, me get breakfast. Landlady have 2 houses. Miss Mason, very, very good. She and her husband. They have a shop. And they have this guest house. I used to board with 4 white guys. 5. But 4 of them are students at the backyard. I do the apprenticeship, yeah. And she come down early in the morning, make breakfast for us, and give us our lunch, and come and in the evening. So we get 3 meals ready.
Well, that was good.
Yeah, I watch that, but never caught by that. Never caught. It's very good. Well, she decided to go up to Wales or something and open a guest house. So she fixed for me before me going away. We are lodging. Very nice. Very, very nice couple. First time I come into the country, they take me out the night. They go on pub. Right on New Road, we have a garage, we have a retail shop. You must see.
Which road was that?
New Road.
Oh, New Road, yes.
We have a repair shop here now. Yeah, you saw the first pub, maybe. There are enough plenty.
I remember I was nursing in the community and sitting with a very educated man I'd gone to sit with him because he had actually had very short time before he was in his dying phase. And I was so shocked when we were chatting, and then he turned around to me and he said, I need to apologize to you. So I said, apologize to me for what? He said, I've been a bigot all my life. He said, I didn't realize I could sit down and talk with a black person the way I'm talking to you. And the thing was, I heard that. Who was I going to share that with? Because many people wouldn't understand. You know, now it's relevant, but at the time, many people wouldn't understand because people didn't even recognize that they were. I have been through things at work, things like people, they say derogatory things, and my colleagues have no idea, absolutely no idea that that was a racial thing that they'd said. I remember nursing a National Front guy. Now, it was on that he was very happy to broadcast that he was part of the National Front. And I remember going in, being asked to go because he needed changing. And I don't know if you know much about nursing, but you have to roll them towards you. And I remember his wife being in the room. And I did what I always do. At first, I said to my colleague, are you sure you want me to come in? And not one of my, she said, Bev, can you come and help me? So I said, okay. And I went. And in order for me to make him feel safe, I had to roll him right into my arms. And at first I could see that the lady was stiffening as he rolled towards me, as if to say, what am I going to do? But what do? I just tenderly cared for him like I tenderly care for anybody. But I could see the look. I could clock the look. I knew what it meant. I knew what it represented. I knew at first she was frightened and knew she was sad. But who was I going to share that with? It was something I had to keep. You know, I remember times when they were taking photographs of people in the place I work. It's always funny. Me and my colleague, who was an Asian girl, would get the dirty works to go and do so that we weren't featured in the pictures. It might not be their intention, but that's certainly the way it made you feel when it happened on numerous occasions. But because of my upbringing, the way I was brought up to have confidence in myself and in life and in learning and being respectful of myself, I didn't let it bother me. And sometimes, when I share with my children, they say, maybe you should have said something. There is always these little things that when you look back and you realize that it doesn't matter. And when I look back now, I'm considered as quite learned and quite good at my job. But when you go forward there's never anybody to give you that encouragement. Once I can remember somebody actually putting their neck out for me and saying, "That's enough. You're not doing that." And I can remember she actually said, "I've signed you up at university. You're going to university." Once. And I have a lot of respect for that lady to this day. But many, they don't realize that even today, they still try and push you to the back. But for the type of person that I am, it didn't bother me. But then it's now I look back and I think, should it have bothered me? Or was I conditioned to just take what I get and live with it, I don't know. My hands. My beautiful hands. I can remember coming here very proud because even though I was a country girl, my mum taught me to be very not proud for people, but just to have manners. Don't beg, don't steal, don't borrow, those kind of things. Don't put your hat where you can't reach it, those kinds of things. I can remember being very fortunate, and I didn't realize that I was fortunate. I thought I was just because I was a clever girl. When I got my first job was paper round. And after paper round, I remember going to Marks and Spencer's to work. And I was really shocked when I quickly realized that people didn't want to touch my hands. My hands weren't dirty. I was taught to keep them clean, my nails groomed. So, and then I noticed that people didn't really, people, you put your hand out to shake, because we were just, I think, a bit OTT with manners, I suppose, and I say OTT because when you come up here, you stand up to say please and thank you and put your hand up to speak and those kind of thing, and other people didn't do it. But still, you touch people when you take money from them, when they're selling you, when you're working in a shop. And I noticed people didn't want to touch me. Many times they put the money on the counter and I had to put the change on the counter. That hurt, but I soon sort of, okay, that's the way you want to be. That's the way you are. So, and I wanted the pay at the end of the day, so you comply.
When the cold take me, I cry to go home. When the winter take me, I cry to go home. Just that rough. Well, that hard work in this country. I didn't do no easy work, hard work. I work on the road. They lay concrete and all them things there. My first job was I worked with for the school. delivering school meals. Just to be happy and live good with people. Favorite is Bob Marley.
Oh, yes. You can sing me one I'm song?
Yeah.
Go on now.
Not at the moment because I'm someone with me.
Oh, you know what? Let me hear your lovely voice. Carry me a girl in street market, not a what you would sell. Carry me a girl in street market, not a what you would sell. Lord, what a life, what a life. On a Saturday night. Lord, what a life, what a life. On a Saturday night.